A very good evening, viewer, and thank you so much for joining us on GBS Late Night News. My name is Eric Munene. Now, US President Barack Obama, who is on a tour of Africa, has openly said that he avoided Kenya because of the ICC cases facing President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto. Obama said he had visited Kenya many times before, but said he could probably visit his father's country in the next 3 years that he'll be the President of the United States of America. Obama said this while responding to questions from young Kenyans who engaged him directly from Nairobi through video conference as he talked to African youth in University of Johannesburg in Soweto, South Africa.
Kenya, you ready?
It is no longer speculation that President Barack Obama skipped Kenya in his second African tour because of the ICC cases facing President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto.
And Kenya, a country obviously very close to my heart.
Obama, while talking to young Africans in Johannesburg, South Africa, said that the time was not right for him to come to Kenya with its top leadership facing indictment at The Hague over the 2007 post-election violence. He was responding to questions posed by youth in Kenya through video conference.
But what's also true, I won't deny, is that Kenya just had an election. I was very proud to see the restraint in which the election was held. We did not see a repeat of the violence that we saw in the last election. But with a new administration that's also having to manage some of the international issues around the ICC, I did not think it was the optimal time for me to visit. But as I said, I've got 3.5 years. So if in 3 years and 7 months I'm not in Kenya, then you can fault me for not following through on my promise. Thank you.
During his 75 minutes interaction with young Africans, Obama skirted around trade relations between his country and Africa. He said US was not developing cold feet towards Africa for its recent inclination to China, saying Africa needs every sober partner it can get.
Our commitment to Africa is based on our belief in Africa's promise and Africa's future, and we want to be part of that future. Second of all, I think everybody should be involved in Africa. I want China and I want everybody, come on down to Africa, because 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are right here in Africa. You are seeing a shift inside of Africa in which a commitment to democracy and transparency is beginning to take hold. I want to make sure that as countries come to Africa, that it's benefiting Africans. So if somebody's building a road here in Africa, make sure they're hiring some Africans.
Obama said his government has initiated a Young Leaders Initiative that seeks to have young Africans travel to the US for training on governance.
It's called the Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. And I hope all of you apply, because we're joining with our top schools, public and private. We'll focus on civic leadership and public administration and business and entrepreneurship, the skills you need to serve your communities and start and grow businesses and run effective ministries. And you'll interact with Americans from all walks of life, because our citizens, especially our young people, can learn from you too.
President Obama is on his second trip to Africa that began in Senegal and will culminate in Tanzania before he returns to the US. I bet Kenyans will be waiting to see that he keeps his word about making a visit in the next 3 years. Let's come back home now. A massive cleanup exercise was held today in Huruma in Mathare constituency. In attendance were President Uhuru Kenyatta, the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, and Governor for Nairobi City County, Dr. Evans Kidero, among others. The exercise was aimed at finding ways of generating jobs for the youth through waste management. Speaking at the event, the President said that the environment was top priority to the government, and ensuring that it was clean was the biggest way of conserving it.
In the Jubilee Manifesto on the environment, one of the government's key goals was finding ways of enforcing statutory mechanisms for the disposal of human and industrial wastes. This was the reason for organizing a cleanup exercise in Huruma as a result of the various dump sites scattered all over. Sporting gloves and a broom, President Uhuru said that the aim was not just to clean the environment from the outside, but also people's attitudes as well. He also called on the local authority to set aside land for residents to set up their businesses instead of the continuous cat-and-mouse chases that is rampant among the county governments and hawkers and frequent demolition of stalls.
Pia tukubaliana ya kwamba tukifanya kazi pamoja na serikali ya county, mkitengewa pahali muwe mnafanyia biashara zenu hapo ambayo mmetengewa, si ndio? Na ndio tuweze kufuata sheria. Mimi nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba umuhimu wa mazingira yetu itakuwa priority kubwa kwa serikali yangu.
President Uhuru also said that they were intensifying the war on drugs and called upon all the youth to distance themselves from all drug lords as they were the future of the country. He went on to call on the youth to form groups and start businesses as 6 million shillings had been set aside in the budget to help them improve their lives.
Yangu siku ya leo ni kuwaomba vijana wetu mujiunde, mjitengeneze kama groups. Umejitengeneza, mko tayari? Ndio wakati pesa hizo zitaanza kuachiliwa, muweze kuchukua nafasi hiyo, mjiunde katika group za environment, mjiunde katika group za kuanzisha na kutengeneza makioski ya kuuza na kufanya biashara ndogo ndogo.
Governor for Nairobi City, Dr. Evans Kidero, shared the same sentiments and called for a sense of ownership of the country among the youth by taking care of the environment, as 700 million shillings had been budgeted for them to indulge in environmental activities. He also asked them to ensure that they take up the cleanup exercise on a monthly basis.
Sisi watu wa Nairobi ni jukumu letu kutoa taka kwa vyumba vyetu, kwa jiji pale ambao tunakaa, na kila pahali, kwa ajili ukiishi kwa nyumba yako, you can't throw rubbish anywhere. And outside your house, isiwe unaitupa. We want Nairobians to treat Nairobi like their homes.
Kidero went on to add that to promote a sense of ownership, they were trying to influence county and local governments to ensure that registration of persons is done according to where one lives and not according to where their parents came from.
The launch today is the first of a long-term program of cleaning our city, and tutakuwa tunajitolea every last Saturday of the month, and we will be doing it in the areas where we stay.
Such cleanup exercises are needed in all parts of the country, as recycling of waste products not only ensures a cleaner and healthier environment, thus reducing global warming, but also provides a platform for creation of employment opportunities through introduction of such industries. Florence Gaduita, GBS News.
Thank you, Gaduita, for that story. Now let's move to the emotive issue of computers. Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi said for the laptop project to succeed, there will be capacity building in schools, with the main aim being to teach teachers on how to use the computers. He pointed out that a very big percentage of primary school teachers was not computer literate, a fact that many stakeholders in the ICT industry agree to. Now, a spot check by GBS TV confirms this too, and with the project about to kickstart, it seems the teachers will have to engage themselves with something meaningful in the ICT world, even when they are out of classroom in protest over their allowances. Professor Kaimenyi says teachers who are IT savvy are mostly those teaching at the high school level, but they too need to get empowered to be relevant to the new curriculum.
Our teachers, of course, quite a good number of them, especially secondary schools, they are ICT savvy, they are ICT literate. But we want to ensure that we empower them, we capacity build them. So in this project, we would teach teachers on how to deliver content through using the laptops.
According to the program director of Karibu Center, an organization that offers free computer training to teachers, Luke Kincaid, it is important to have the teachers empowered before they teach the young ones on how to use the computers.
The reason for the Teacher Training Academy is we have realized that a very important aspect of computer education is literacy for the teachers. It's very difficult to teach children if the teachers who are working with them are also not literate in computers. So as a foundation, we first start with the teacher, to give the teacher skills, to give the teacher confidence, to teach them the basics of a computer, how it operates, the functions of a computer, before we can move on to teaching the child.
He concurs with what Professor Kaimenyi says on the level of teachers' computer literacy.
Unfortunately, I have to say that computer literacy among teachers is fairly low from my experience. I'm very, very hopeful that that will improve.
The training, he says, can be quite humbling to those already in the program, but just like any other subject, there has to be a beginning.
When we facilitate a teacher training academy at our center, we first take a teacher through the basics of computer use, which would include Microsoft Word or Excel, the basics of how to put together a presentation which they could use in a classroom setting.
A beneficiary of the project, one Millicent Gumba, who is an ECD teacher, also admits that capacity building is important if teachers have to be effective in how they pass on the knowledge.
When I started, in fact, I was computer illiterate totally. In fact, the first computer I ever set my hands on are these small computers. And we were very much happy when we had to, and when they came to us and offered to train us, because we knew nothing.
The laptop project has faced opposition from many quarters, including from the very teachers who are expected to implement it. Teachers say the money set aside to kickstart the project should instead be channeled towards settling their allowances. Now from ICT, let's move to agriculture. The Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, Felix Kosgei, has assured fertilizer importers that the government is addressing the challenges facing farmers in terms of higher cost of fertilizers and accessibility ahead of the planting season. The assurance came during a meeting with importers on Friday.
Felix Kosgei said it is upon the government to make sure that the fertilizer arrives on time so that the farmers can have ample time to prepare. He decried the prices of different fertilizers, which he said are prone to unregulated fluctuations to the treatment of the farmer.
As you are aware, there has been cases of fertilizer not being available in the country for a period of time. Sometimes you realize that the fertilizers go very high in terms of prices. One case in point is when DAP went up to 6,000 shillings. Currently, CAN, which is a top dresser, we don't have in the country, though we bought some few the other day.
During the meeting, the disgruntled officials challenged the government to subsidize the fertilizers that they import so that they can also pass the low cost to the farmers.
Making sure that the fertilizers arrives in time and the distribution in the country is done early enough so that whenever farmers are ready to plant, they can easily walk into any shop and buy the fertilizer, and it moves into the farm and starts to plant.
The Agriculture Secretary will by all means ensure that availability of fertilizers does not become an impediment to farmers in the country, besides stabilizing distribution.
We have agreed that within the next 2 weeks you should be able to come up with a paper and see which is the best model that you can adopt so that we bring down the fertilizer prices.
Farmers often fail to secure subsidized fertilizers from the government in good time, thereby compromising production. Early this month, Parliament approved the creation of a fertile board within the National Cereals and Produce Board to handle fertile import and distribution. Agnes Maina, GBS News.
Moving on now, empowering the youth is a necessity in achieving economic growth. It involves creating a structural and cultural process that will ensure the youth implement change in their own lives and within the society. UTENA hosted the first community conference at the heart of Mukuru Kwanjenga slums to reach out to those at the base levels by creating awareness on reproductive health and social issues through exhibitions in partnership with other stakeholders.
Unemployment in Kenya among the young people stands at 40%. This is a major setback to economic growth. Creativity and innovation is touted as one key aspect that will bridge the gap of unemployment. Through digital boards, engagement and exhibitions, youth and in collaboration with other organizations transform lives artistically as they inspire to have a healthier, informed and independent community.
This is where everything which is taken to the hotels, to the conferences, in the higher platform starts. So we've decided to come and have the feel and the taste of this, of where everything starts. Because I said we transform lives using artistically, and our main aim is to use theatre for behavior change and communication.
The Eco Shower, an innovation by the Amusha Youth Organization, is an economic, environment-friendly shower that uses an 8-liter container and a pump, which is connected to a valve and through a clear pipe to the shower head. This was after they noticed the poor level of sanitation when water is not available, and the high cost of purchase considering the low earnings of residents within the informal settlements.
So Eco Shower yenyewe ina compress ya pump, ambapo pump yenyewe ni ya 8 liters. Kuna valve ambapo inatumika kufungua maji na kufunga, alafu kuna shower head. Yeah, those are the most important things. So
this is a great boost for water preservation and an improvement in sanitation levels. The challenge is now on the government to ensure conducive arenas for technologies are effectively placed and within the reach for the youths.
Friendly shower, and it's an economic shower. Yeah, ambapo tumemodify zile shower za modern, tumezi improvise in a way that it's cheap na inaweza fit kwa community, especially the slums.
Lavenda Wangoi, GBS News.
Now, across the borders, back in 2006, the government of Malawi launched a social cash transfer program to assist the poorest of the poor in the country. Currently, the program provides a monthly contribution of $14 to more than 26,000 households. The program had two clear objectives: to fight poverty and hunger and to help families send their children to school. Our reporter Nancy Njoki tells us more.
Delia Demisoni lost her husband to AIDS. She is also HIV positive. She has one child and is responsible for 4 others who lost their parents to the same disease. Thanks to the cash transfer, Delia can now afford school uniforms, books and pencils for all the children.
The project has really changed my life. Before, I had literally nothing. Now things are better. Until now, I didn't have any good clothes and my children didn't have any good clothes too. As for food, well, that was a really big problem for me.
If delivered regularly, cash transfers can play a key role in strategies to improve rural livelihoods and agricultural production while stimulating economic and social development. And that's the focus of the collaboration between the Food and Agricultural Organization FAO, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF, and the government of Malawi, together with 6 other African countries, working together on a project known as P2P, from protection to production.
The social cash transfer program supports the ultra-poor and labor-constrained households to be able to engage in agriculture to produce for the growth and the well-being of their households.
Many households invest part of the money they receive in agricultural assets like tools, fertilizers and pesticides. Another bonus is that beneficiary families can afford to hire relations or neighbors to work on their fields instead of their own children.
Poor parents, they are now able to send their children to school rather than taking their children to fields.
African and international leaders and other key stakeholders in the food security sector are set to meet from today to the 1st of July at the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia with a focus on renewing partnership for a unified approach to end hunger in Africa. The meeting, which is organized by the AU, FAO and NEPAD with the support of Instituto Lula and the government of Ethiopia, is expected to commit to a set of principles, policies and strategies to resolve the problem problem of hunger by 2025, which will feed into the national and regional comprehensive Africa agriculture programs, agriculture and food security investment plans. Malawi is one of 4 pilot countries selected as a focus for the meeting. Nancy Njoki, GBS News.
Well, guess who is making us proud? Up next on GBS Sport News. Welcome to GBS Sport News. Now, Rugby Sevens team zoomed into the main cup quarterfinals of the main cup in the ongoing Rugby World Cup in Russia at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow as Kenya secured points against Zimbabwe and Samoa in both teams' last Group C games today. The homegrown talents overwhelmed Zimbabwe before a nail-biting duel against Samoa as Biko Adema, Felix Ayange and William Mbaka were at the heart of Kenya's success at the group stage.
Defense. Collins Injera loves to score tries.
Kenya's Sevens rugby team under the stewardship of head coach Mike Friday made a step on Saturday to qualify to the main cup quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup in Russia. Kenya battled Samoa in a riveting encounter on Saturday afternoon after a 31-5 win over Zimbabwe in the morning during both teams' second and last Group C matches. Biko Adema landed Kenya's first try of the match before failing to score a conversion.
Well, Kenya have stolen it, and this time William Mbaka makes no mistake.
Felix Ayange continued his impressive form in Moscow, touching down Kenya's second and his fourth in the 2013 World Cup extravaganza, before International Rugby Board nominee William Mbaka landed his first World Cup try and took Kenya's tally to 17-0. A fighting Zimbabwe side scored a try through the lanky Tafaza Chitokwindo and reduced the deficit before half-time interval.
Staff Kenya looking good, 17-0, but away comes Tafadzwa Chitokwindo. He's got pace, he's got gas, he's over.
Wow, it's not often you see Collins Injera getting burnt on the outside, and that was an impressive display of pace. And
both coaches made radical changes after the interval, as Humphrey Kayange and Oscar Ouma completed Kenya's rout against the African opponents in the second period. Lavin Asego, Eden Agero and Michael Wanjala came off the bench to add more zeal before the former's successful conversion.
And that's allowed Humphrey Kayange to break loose. Kayange goes over for the first try of the second half.
After Mike Friday's troops sealed a quarter-final place, Samoa registered a 29-0 win over Philippines in both teams' second fixture before the afternoon mouth-watering encounter.
Ndlovu. Man originally from Bulawayo, loose forward in 15s, and it's a loose ball snapped up very quickly there by Oscar Ouma, I think it is, with number 2 on his back. The big wheels are turning ever so slowly at first, but then gathering momentum.
In Group D matches, world champions New Zealand registered a 31-12 win over Georgia and got top of the group, before United States suffered a narrow 15-14 defeat at the hands of the enterprising Canada. Tomasi Kama and Kak Baka led All Blacks attack as Philip Mack and Taylor Parry of Canada overpowered the Americans in the closing stages of the derby.
Phil Mack has gone all the way himself. Well, that's a perfect start, wasn't it? Phil Mack.
Fiji secured a 47-0 win over Uruguay a day after the 45-0 success over Tonga. Eli Tinai, Alpata Ratini and Levani Botia took command of the play in a one-sided affair as they landed double tries.
Guess you'd say of an eyelid. Ball overthrown at the back and taken by Mbotia.
Well settled for a 14-14 draw against Tonga in both teams' Group E game, before Australia wrapped up Group A fixtures against France. Mbaka Collins, GBS News.
Well, it seems members of the national Rugby Sevens team seem to be very much determined not to have the 1,000 shilling from the president and a beer each. Congratulations to them. Now, AFC Leopards has just concluded its national elections this evening at the Moi Sports Centre, Kasarani, where Alan Kasavoli has been elected as the new club chairman. Kasavoli beat former vice chairman Walter Onyino by amassing 223 votes against 180 for Onyino. Now, former Nairobi Mayor George Aladwa was elected as the new Secretary General for Leopards.
Kasavuli will replace outgoing chairman Alex Magello after he garnered 223 votes to beat his closest rival Walter Onyino, who garnered 180 votes. Alan Kasavuli has been elected new AFC Leopards chairman after beating closest rival Walter Onyino in a hotly contested election held at Kasarani on Saturday. Kasavuli garnered 223 votes, beating outgoing vice chairman Walter Onyino, who amassed 180 votes. Daniel Mule came third with 85 votes, and Matthew Opura was last after garnering 46 votes.
AFC Leopards has shown maturity because everyone has always associated AFC Leopards with trouble. Today we've done a very peaceful election. Everyone was free and fair in the outcome, and we believe that this is a new beginning of AFC Leopards. And as I said, our team, my vision in this club is first to set the obligations that I had put in the manifesto of having a secretariat in the first 100 days of being in the office at AFC Leopards.
Security was beefed up in fear that violence will erupt, a thing associated with Leopards elections, but that was not to come as voters voted in peace and accepted the outcome as true. Onyino later conceded defeat and vowed to work with Kasavuli to revive the club's fortunes.
Kujiondoa kwangu ilikuwa kwa sababu ya maslahi ya team. KPL walikuwa wanasema wataban AFC, lakini kwa undani walikuwa wanatabu na Onyino kwa sababu kila mtu anafikiria Ingwe TV Zuku ni mambo ya Onyino, si mambo ya Onyino. Ilijadiliwa na EC, lakini hiyo perception to make sure that club yangu itakuwa punished for nothing, nika step aside ili watu wengine ambao walikuwa wanasema ni mimi nilifanya na wapate fursa kuangalia mkataba na wachukue decision bila mimi kuwa influence, kwa sababu kuwa kwangu pale inakuwa ni kama mimi ndio mwenye contract.
Onyino resigned early this week as a vice chairman of the club, bowing to pressure following his controversial Zuku AC deal that is argued to have infringed on Premier League broadcast sponsors SuperSport, and announced he was running for the top seat. Kasavuli will be charged with setting up a secretariat for the club within 90 days as he had promised during his campaigns in his bid to take the club to another level. Ken Juguna, GBS Sports.
Well, the new AFC Leopards Secretary General is the Nairobi former mayor. Now, Thika was today brought to an entertaining showdown when Kenya's David Kililu landed Tanzanian Mzuka Kasaja on technical knockout in the 5th round of the possible 9 of the East Africa title challenge. Kililu, the current world featherweight champion, was first in attack, giving Kasaja no time to recuperate. Now, Kililu registered his 30th win of his professional bout.
For almost 2 months, David Kililu was in the ring in Pumwani sweating under his coach Julius Njoka, probably preparing for a bout. This was the East and Central Africa title challenge against Tanzania Mzuka Kasaja in the flyweight class. The bout was curtain-raised by several women bouts, where Elizabeth Andeso faced Nyagodhie in a 3-round bout, losing out on split decision. Kililu was going into the match with 37 professional wins, while Kasaja was carrying 34 clean sheets. The bout began exactly at 4 p.m, Kililu in the red corner. As usual, punches did not land accurately due to nervousness, and the first round went. Second and third, that is when Kililu showed the stuff he's made of. This win gives Kililu his 38th professional win, with 26 knockouts, 2 technical knockouts, 6 draws and 2 losses, totaling to 50 professional bouts. Manuya Kevin, GBS News.
And that's GBS Sport News. Well, thank you so much, viewer, for watching GBS Late Night News. If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to newsdesk@gbskenya.com. My name is Eric Munene. Do have yourself a good night.